Hello and welcome. We've got a few minutes and very excited to be here with you. And please do say hello. This is going to be a great time. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. So as we wait the extra 60 seconds, that's all we have is 60 seconds before the start to make sure everybody gets on board. Feel free to say hello, and if you can hear me and you can see me on screen, hi guys, just say yes, just so that I know that it's working. Now, if you've ever used this streaming platform from YouTube, then you'll see that you've got the screen in front of you, the video streaming, and then over to the side you have a chat box, and that's where you can engage and interact. Alright, excellent. Welcome. It is now 8 o'clock. We have started. Okay, let me just transition back into PowerPoint. Wow. Thank you ever so much for taking the time out, your valuable time, for a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and that is shyness. I think shyness has robbed over 20 years of my life, and so it often goes unnoticed, not by yourself, but from everywhere else, because nobody speaks up about it. But it's such a serious problem that I really wanted to spend this evening sharing with you what I think is some valuable information. So I want to make sure that you can hear me. So if you can hear me in the chat, just write yes. Just write yes. And what you'll see is the chat is just over to one side. So as you're looking at it, it's normally over to the right hand side of the screen. So you'll have the video and then the right hand screen. So just say yes, and I know that you can hear me and everything is working smoothly. Alright, fabulous. I appreciate that. Alright, so we got a lot to cover this evening. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I want to keep it short and sweet, but at the same time make it very practical, so that you come away with not an overwhelming amount of things to do, because that won't help, but a couple of key things that will start your journey on to becoming much more confident in everyday social situations. And I have been asked, since I've been talking about the shyness webinar that we're running now, is that would this help with social anxiety disorder? And yes, they're very much related in various different ways. So let's get on with the next stage. Right. So let's have an agenda. We don't want an everyday agenda. We want to create something. We want to move mountains. In the small amount of time we have together, my goal is to make a big impact in the following ways. Confidence, at least the start of confidence, where there was once uncertainty, or should I really say once there was shyness. Clarity, where there was once confusion. To unlock with you your true potential that you have to make a dent on the universe. And I've got to say this, that the world needs you. They truly do. The world needs you and your talents, your skills. So you not only owe it to yourself to move past this, but also you owe it to the world. So no small thing then. But if nothing else, I want to help you become more confident. And I'm not talking about superficial confidence, masking confidence, putting a band-aid on so that you can appear to be confident. I want to start you on the journey of understanding at a deep level where the shyness is coming from, and it's possibly not from where you think. And once we understand it, it makes sense how we can start to develop and build a genuine confidence. And then on top of that, layer in some conversational skills. So what I need from you is not to sit there passively, not to just to take the information in, is to do something with the information. That's always going to be vital. Implementation is key. It's so easy to collect information and to gather it, store it up, have books. I'm sure a lot of you got books on your shelves that you keep meaning to read, or you've read and they made so much sense, you've still not done anything. So implement at least one thing here, if not at least two. We're going to look at two major techniques. Implement them. I've designed them to be simple, straightforward, to take just moments in your day. Because if we can start you on the right path, amazing things happen. I will say nothing pains me more than giving you a solution, my best solutions, and running into you years, and hopefully it's not going to be years, but running into you later on and you'll still have the same problems. So I'm asking you to take action from what you learn here today. Alright, so you can either type in yes or mentally say yes. The other thing about this webinar, it's safe. If you don't want to engage, this is a safe place, that's fine. I fully understand. I've been there. If you want to sit quietly in the background and just watch, that's fine. But afterwards, take what you've learned and implement it. I want you to be an inspiration to others. I wonder how many people there were in the world who suffered and continue to suffer because they could not break out of their own web of shyness and reserve, and in their blindness and folly built up a great distorted wall in front of them that hid the truth. It's painful. Actually, let me move my my shiny head out of the way so you can see the picture. Now, this speaks volumes, this quote from Daphne. It's so true, and it's a silent killer of dreams, shyness. That if we can break through that wall and live the life that we know we can do, it can make all the difference. So let me share a little bit of my story. Not too much, but a little bit. Yep, that's me. That's me in the dungarees there with the chubby cheeks and my brother looking down at me. And that was taken off over in Australia. I think I was shy at that point. And that's me doing the moody, brooding thing as you do as a teenager, which was, don't speak to me. I can't say anything to you. I'm going to go bright red. So, if any of you know a bit about my story, you know my parents are hippies. And they were out and out there. Sex, drugs and rock and roll, man. That was the lifestyle I brought up. So I must have bewildered them as a child. Because I was highly introverted to start with. And there is a difference between introversion and shyness. A lot of the time you hear people mix that up and just use it in the same way. So when somebody's introverted, it just means they go inside the process, but they're quite comfortable in social situations. Whereas somebody who is shy is not comfortable in social situations. So that was a quick definition of the two. So not only am I highly introverted as a person, I also had this layer of shyness. And even from an early age, if you spoke to me, I probably would not speak back to you as a child. And I kind of found myself in this inner imaginative world just so that I could have some sort of interaction, not with anyone else, but really with myself. It wasn't that I wasn't a happy child. I had a wonderful imagination. But I mumbled. I was dyslexic, I had learning challenges, all the things that go with life. So they're not excuses, they're just part of life. But this shyness thing affected me in two ways. One, as I was growing up, was dating, which seems to be the obvious thing, but it's unless you're generally shy, you don't understand the difficulty it is asking someone out. And I remember once, a girl had got through my wall. asked me out and kind of insisted that we go out on a date. So we went out to a place to dance, and I spent the whole night dancing by myself, and she kind of sat there, kind of bewildered what was going on, thought I wasn't interested in her. And I just couldn't speak to her. I had no verbal skills, I had no conversational skills. I just didn't know how to interact and what to say. And if I did speak to you, I would flush red. And I'd know I'd flush red because I'd go hot. And as I would go hot, I would sort of start to breathe in shallow, and I would sort of feel restricted. My heart rate would start to rush, and I'd start to perspire. And I swear, sometimes I thought I was going to have a panic attack. But it also held me back from a career, from doing something. I'm now lucky enough to do something I love doing. And the thing that started to give you an idea of the type of career I was in, before I started I managed to sort of get through sort of the kind of the dating fiasco, and I met Bernadette, who was very patient and kind of got through that wall. The types of jobs I would go for, because I did not believe in myself, I was too shy to kind of interact. Well, one, these are sad jobs. One, I worked in a pathology lab, so I spent the day spreading woo and pee, wee and pee. No, hang on, let me say that again. Poo and wee onto jelly, basically. So that was fun, I can tell you. And the other job, which makes the pathology job looks glamorous, was I collected sewer samples. Yes, I climbed down sewers and collected samples of waste to be analysed in labs. Yet pathology now looks glamorous, doesn't it? So, and there's nothing wrong with doing those jobs, but it's not something I wanted to do personally. And it's partly because I just couldn't interact. So what was the thing that started to turn my life around? There were several things, and one of them was the NLP, the Neuro-Linguistic programming, which really started to give me the tools to overcome the shyness. And the other thing I did was meditation. Now that will make a lot more sense as we go through into the next stages of what we're exploring this evening. So now I wake up with joy. I get to do an amazing thing. I get to travel the world. So since the shyness thing, I got past it. I've been running a training company, which kind of makes no sense for somebody who's shy, and people don't believe that I was that shy. But they're seeing me after 20 years of working on myself. And what I've been able to do is kind of distill that down, so that rather than you having to go through 20 years of kind of self-searching, looking for the answers, going through dead ends and wrong information, is I pulled it all together into a coherent package, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But so I've been traveling the world, and I really am a kind of a one-man band. I have lots of associates and people I work with, which is just an honour. But I've been in partnership with companies like Jaguar Land Rover, and they're amazing people that work there. They truly are. And recently I partnered with the Federation of Small Businesses, which is an organisation that was set up by small businesses, run by small businesses, for small businesses, and it's a non-profit organisation. I've trained people from Starbucks, Visa, Royal Mail, Bank of Scotland, Eurostar, the Armed Forces. It's just been such an honour. Also, I've worked with, on our open courses, entrepreneurs, coaches, therapists, and it really has been a wonderful journey. So, like I was talking about, it's taken me a long time to do this, and over the last 20 years running my training company, I've met thousands and thousands of people, and one of the most common things that I come across is confidence, which is what people are after. There's shyness of all different levels, and you'll be amazed in all different walks of life as well. And so I want to take all that information, my personal examples, plus looking at the research, that what works, what doesn't work, and distill it down for you. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to explore shyness, which is tricky being shy, because I know I blame myself for it, and other people blame you for it too, which Jacqueline just wonderfully put there. It's so prevalent that I find it in all walks of life. But the sad truth about shyness, especially the advice that's given, is most advice is written by people who have never had shyness themselves, which astounds me. And I don't think that they're trying to be helpful. But if you've never been there, so what piece of advice falls under this is one of the things, well, just do it. Just go up and talk to somebody once a day. Are you kidding me? Are you joking? That's the last thing I can do when I'm shy. I know reasonably confident people that wouldn't do that. But when you are confident, it makes a lot of sense. You go, well, why don't you just do it? Well, it's not going to happen. It really isn't. So another example of that is something called the power pose. This was made popular by Amy Cuddy in a TED Talk that was 2012. And it was a great talk. I think Amy is very engaging. It got been a lot of hits on the TED Talk, so it's very highly watched. And on the surface of it, it does make sense. Your psychology will follow your physiology. Your physiology will follow your psychology. So it makes a lot of sense at one level. And yet it was discovered that it works around about 40% of the time for people that are shy. And for the other 60%, it has very little impact. And I kind of thought, wonder what's going on there. And I did a little bit digging under the surface of this research, and it turned out it's based on 43 students who were Ivy League students who were already confident, said they felt much more confident in a power pose. So I'm going to say it helps, but not in the way that in the poses won't help if you truly are deeply shy, as I was. Just the pose will not do it. So we need something more from that. We need to start from the ground level and work our way up. You also get the other type of information that kind of wants to be motivational, kind of rah-rah, jumpy up and downy. And under that we have the affirmations. I am confident. I am positive. I am good conversationalist. So a Canadian researcher, Dr. Joanna Wood at the University of Waterloo, her and her colleagues explored this. And it was published, her research was published in the Journal of Psychological Science. And it actually says, repeating positive self-statements benefit certain people. And often if they already have good high self-esteem, got a confidence around them, but can backfire when we need them most. So if you have low self-esteem, which is a kind of offshoot, a kind of one of the symptoms of shyness, often felt worse than other people who did not afterwards. So it's not that they don't work. Affirmations is a great tool, but they're not going to magically take us from being shy or have social anxiety and be confident. And I think if you're listening to this, you understand that at a deep level. So motivational information intends to do well, to serve us. But it's often, again, coming from people who have never been shy themselves. So a couple of things I noticed, some of the academic stuff was just too dense to get through, so I haven't included a lot of that here. But the advice simply is not specific enough. It doesn't give us something we can actually do, kind of a step-by-step process. So some of the current solutions, and this first one really is for the social anxiety. Shyness is often misread for that, but they're so close that a lot of money to be made from the medications, as the danger of that is the side effects. So the next place is the therapy, and the most popular one at the moment is CBT, and that's because the government has recognized it and uses it as a tool for all therapeutic, and it's a great tool set. And I would say if we add in the NLP skills and techniques within that, that's going to make a huge difference. And then meditation. Not all meditation. Certain meditation works really well. Can be a bit time consuming. So upsides and downsides to all of this. But now we know that, it kind of starts to form the foundation of what can we do to actually overcome any of this shyness stuff that we're suffering from. And that is a technical term, shyness stuff. Alright, so as we go through, if you've got any questions, and I'm fully prepared for there not to be, if you've got any questions, feel free just to type them into the chat box, which you'll find over there. Yes, so please do ask questions. So here's my 4 steps to overcoming shyness. And each of these steps we could break down into, most of them break down into 6 to 8 different branches. Our internal world, our external world, expression and engagement. First we need to take care of our internal world. Then we move on to the external world. And if we do it in that order, and you'll see why in a moment, it has a huge impact. Then once we've got the external world in place, some tools, some techniques, very simple tools and techniques, help us become so that we can start to express our ideas, express ourselves, which leads to engagements, social engagements, which leads to dating, which leads to the career of your choice. So it's very exciting. So in this webinar, we're going to have a quick look at the internal world and then engagement. So internal world first. The most important decision you will ever make is whether you live in a safe or a dangerous world. And I think that's an iconic picture of Albert Einstein there. And this is true. And this quote could underline what it is that's gone wrong for why we have become shy. It's almost as though there's a part of us, a system within us has decided that the world is a dangerous place. Social interactions are a dangerous place. Because I never agreed with it's all in the head. Intellectually, that makes sense. But in practice, it doesn't. So, what are we really dealing with? What is the underlying cause of shyness, in my opinion? After a lot of time of research and reading and just my own experience, I think there's a physiological makeup within us that is leading us towards this shyness. And Albert Einstein have captured it in this quote. Do we live in a safe or a dangerous world? Yes. Fight or flight response. So at one level, there's a mechanism in the fight and flight response that has gone wrong. Now, that was a kind of big breakthrough for me, but I wanted more, so I dug deeper. And if you come across Paul MacLean's work, the triune brain theory, and that's him there, yes, he's holding the brain. That is my brain. And when I met him, I gladly let him have a look at my brain because it was an opportunity. No, I'm joking. So, he talks about the reptilian brain, the limbic brain or the mammalian brain, and the neural cortex. Okay, so if we understand this process, I think we have a deeper understanding of where the root of shyness is coming from. And once we have a deeper understanding of where the root of shyness is coming from, then we can take some steps. They may be not the most intuitive steps to take, but we can start to take some steps to reclaim our place in the world. So, let's have a look at the triune brain theory. So the reptilian brain, this is about survival. It's the eldest of the three brains. It's also called our instincts. Yeah, there I am. I think we ought to mix it up just a little bit. So controls vital bodies, so heart rate, breathing, body temperature, our balance. It includes the main structures found in the reptilian brains are fight, flight, freeze, sex, rituals, routines, patterns, decision making. Now, does this sound familiar? So when I was saying heart rate sped up when I was approaching somebody, maybe if I found them attractive, or if I'm going to think about speaking up in a meeting or a conference room, then my heart rate would speed up, my breathing would become tight, my body temperature would raise. Do you think possibly that the reptilian brain has made a decision that the world's a dangerous place, that social interaction is a dangerous place? Flee. Yes, because it's the least amount of energy expense. Oops, wrong button. Technology. So, what we have here is how the reptilian brain is. We get some information. Let's say we decide that we're going to speak up in the meeting on a Monday morning. The reptilian brain goes, is it dangerous? And rather than going, no, it goes, yes. And now how are we going to deal with it? Flight, flight, flight. Warning, warning, give way, retreat, discard, remove yourself, give up, move on. And then it loops. Goes, is it dangerous? Yes, it is. How do we deal with it? Run away, flight, remove yourself, give up. Is it dangerous? Yes, deal with it. And we've got caught in this loop. Whereas the loop would work in certain situations, it would go, is it dangerous? No, actually, we spoke to this person before and it was okay. Now then it goes, is it novel? I.e., is this interesting in some way? And what the reptilian brain's really interested in is, can I eat it? Can I sleep with it? Is it novel enough? If it's not any of those, can I ignore it? So if in the meeting, is it interesting enough? Maybe it's going to advance my career. Then we should go to yes, and it gets passed up to the mammalian brain. But my theory is this, and this is why a lot of the so-called help by people who have not had this experience, is that it's not in the head, it's part of the reptilian brain, it's built into the structure, the building process. Well, I suppose we could argue it is in the head in one sense, but not in the way that they mean it. So I'm going to suggest there's a loop that's going on here. Now, this will affect the next part, which is the limbic brain, the emotional brain. So if constantly going, oh my word, run away, flight, no, this is dangerous, it's affecting the emotional brains, which recalls the memories and gets worse over a period of time. So this is at the seat of our unconscious, our value judgments. Also sometimes called the mouse brain. So it's basically another part of the loop that's anticipate danger, learn from previous experience, and run away, go red, flight, get out of here. Now with these two parts of the brain, first thing we need to do is to start to control it. So this part may take a little while to master, but it will form the foundation of a lot of everything else we're doing. Because what we want to do is reprogram and take back control of our physiology and our neurology at both the reptilian brain and the limbic brain. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So how do we do that? Well, we have this wonderful thing called the vagus nerve. Now, the word vagus comes from Latin and it means wandering, and it wanders all over the place. So the vagus nerve is most famously known for if it's runs up the left side of your neck and goes up into your brain, goes around your brain, goes up to the corners of your eyes and corners of your mouth, and it goes around your ears, strangely enough. But it also then goes around your heart rate, around your lungs and into your stomach. So it fully is a wandering nerve or ancient nerve. Why is this important to know? Well, notice the description I was talking about earlier when maybe I was going to either go and approach somebody out for a date, or when I was, which I didn't mention, but if I was going to go for some work or talk to somebody in authority, I just couldn't do it. And the closer I came to it, the more my heart rate sped up. And I don't know about you if you've experienced this. Shyness is bad enough if you can get out of there. But if somebody actually speaks to you, that flush of red, well, that's as we were talking about, let's quickly nip back. So that's this part, the reptilian brain, where we notice the body temperature flushing red. Breathing starts to speed up. Our heart rate speeds up. Breathing is becoming shallow, and you often feel sick. That's all to do with this that flight response. So the vagus nerve controls this. So one of the things that happens is, I just realised I am in the way of the vagus nerve. There you go. No guts, no glory. Because I know you like a bit of a technical diagram. Who doesn't on a Thursday? So the vagus nerve's interesting. What's happening when the reptilian brain is firing off the messages, run out of here? The vagus nerves tightens around the brain, so you have trouble thinking. It tightens around your heart, so the heart rate has to beat faster to get the blood through. It then tightens around your lungs, so you then have trouble breathing, your shallower breaths. You can't take the full deep body breaths that would be very useful for you to take. And also, you feel sick in your stomach, and that's the vagus nerves going, if we're going to flight and we want to run, let's get rid of everything in our stomach as fast as possible so that we can run faster. Alright, so our first step then is to control this panic system so that our limbic brain gets a different emotional message. There's two main ways that we can affect the vagus nerve. There's three in use, but the third one involves an operation where my son has this, it's used for epilepsy, where they put some wires to the vagus nerve and has a battery inside him, and if he goes in and has an epileptic fit, the battery automatically fires electrical activity into the vagus nerve, which disrupts the vagus nerve squeezing around the brain. But that might be a bit extreme for our use. But luckily enough, there's two natural ways that we can control the vagus nerve. Because if we can send a signal on a regular basis to the vagus nerve to relax in this situation, then we take control of a lot of those responses. Two ways to that. One, you remember I said the vagus nerve reaches up around the eyes. And if you can genuinely smile, not just grit your teeth, but have a genuine smile. Oh, hang on. Excuse me, I'm trying to be all technical here. Let me just move that. Let go back. There you go. General smile. So, not that. Not grit your teeth and smile like that. But smile that reaches your eyes. It triggers the vagus nerve to relax. Now, to be fair, that's not going to be realistic for our situation, and I get that. And for you guys that know me, I'm quite smiley now, and it's a signal that one of the things I did constantly was to train my vagus nerve to relax. So, hence always smiling. That's why I want to be relaxed. But the other thing we can do is use breathing. Remember, the vagus nerve goes around the lungs. And as it's going around the lungs, if we can relax the tightness, the breathing will deepen and sends a message to the rest of our system via the vagus nerve to relax. So what we can do is practice a certain type of breathing. So let's do that. So very quickly to recap, the vagus nerve, communication between the brain and the gut. Relaxation through deep breathing, that's the exercise that we'll be starting. Decreasing inflammation. So the exercise will not only help with the shyness, it will help with general health, lower blood pressure. And here's what's key, and this is the thing that I suddenly went, of course meditation has the impact, because meditation is training your system, your vagus nerve, to send messages through your body. So if the vagus nerve is about fear management, dealing with stress, anxiety and fear, and we work directly with that, that's like the precursor to the social skills. That's the physiological, that's the internal world being taken care of, so I'm excited about this, I really am. So your internal world has a tool to help it relax, so that the signals to the limbic brain and then eventually to the neural cortex is that this is a safe world to live in. Right, so the breathing exercise. So there's several things we can do with breath. One is breathe in. We can hold the breath in. We can breathe out, and we can hold the breath out. And that's essentially pretty much we can do. We can breathe fast or slow, but that's the variation of these themes. So what we can do is start to train our vagus nerve through breathing. So I'm going to recommend a technique for start off with 1 minute a day, and then after 5 days build to 2 minutes a day until you can get to 3 minutes a day. So I'm asking for 3 minutes of your day to form the foundation, a strong foundation that trains your physiology to relax on cue in social situations. And this breathing exercise is I'm going to invite you to start off by breathing in for 4 breaths, for a count of 4, hold for a count of 6, breathe out for a count of 8, and then hold for let's say a count of 10, and then start doing that. And if you become out of breath, just take a normal breath in and start again. Right, so I'm just going to come back on screen. Right, so let's just do just a couple of times together. So breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So what you've just done there is done a world of good for your vagus nerve. For your health, it's a very simple meditation. And if that's too much, and to be fair, that can be too much to start with, I'm being a little bit ambitious. That's partly my overexcitement of how simple, not simplistic, how simple yet effective this exercise is on helping with our shyness. I know it seems counterintuitive to do a form of a kind of meditation, a breathing meditation, and as a precursor to really creating a strong foundation to become more confident. Not a superficial confidence, a powerful confidence. And if you have any questions about this, or looking for any more directions around it, please do email me or ask any questions in the chat box. Happy to answer those. So my question for you becomes, so we've got an action step. This is one of the things to do, is I'm going to ask you to use this technique for the next 15 days. So first 5 days for a minute, the next 5 days for 2 minutes, and the next 5 days for 3 minutes. And this simple technique, a little bit of discipline, does wonders for taking control back of that shyness, that social anxiety. Think of it as the precursor to other tools that make, because if you can't control your physiology, you can't control your internal world, then when you flush red and your heart beats and you stop thinking and you want to throw up and you're sweating and you're flushing more red because you're embarrassed that all of this is happening, then you won't be able to use any other technique anyhow. Right. But please do ask any questions, do engage. Love to hear your thoughts around this. Right, so we've just looked at one step in a 4-step process, which I was called the internal world. Okay, there's other things we can do, but what I'd like to do is give you another tool that you can start to practice. And this is around engagement. So, expression. So, a lack of conversational ability can, no matter how confident you are, if you don't know really what to say. So there's some tools to help us start and be able to hold conversations with people. So lack of conversational confidence. So one of the things to avoid is rehearse canned responses. Now, can be useful, but the only danger of being too well rehearsed in your responses, if somebody doesn't say the right thing, you don't know how to respond. So I wanted to give you something a little bit more flexible. There is a place for some rehearsed responses, but that's not going to get you where you need to go to. So we're going to have a look at another technique. So what we're after is conversational confidence. How can we get the conversational started, flowing, and eliminate those awkward moments, those silences where somebody says something and you just don't know what to say back, and you mutter something and you're there all quietly and you just want the ground to eat you up. Alright, so if we control our vagus nerve, we now need to have a strategy to have a free-flowing conversation. Introduction, conversational mapping. A simple technique that helps you, even if somebody utters one sentence, to give you a way to start to engage. Okay, so our goal here is for you to be yourself, to be able to express yourself, converse and engage. This is the expression, this is engagement. So conversational mapping is something you can practice by listening to Radio 2 and the interviews, and maybe eavesdropping over to other people's conversations, and it gives you a strategy to keep the conversation moving. So here's an example. Each sentence we have has multiple branches that we could start a conversation from. So example, on Saturday, Chen and I went to the movies and saw Spider-Man. So there's 3 branches in this sentence that we could use conversational mapping. So in the basic sentence we have Sunday, Tony and Spider-Man, and you could respond to any one of those, not all of them, any one of those, And you could choose, say, Sunday. Oh yeah, on Sunday I was helping Sue with her garden. So that can, do you like gardening? Do you know Sue? And it starts a conversation. Tony. How is Tony? I haven't seen him for a while. What's he up to these days? Spider-Man. I've not seen Spider-Man. What did you think? Wonderfully simple. And it enables you to be flexible and engage in a conversation. But you do need to listen. So, conversational threading, as it's sometimes known as, is effective because it continues the flow of conversations by staying on topic and relevant. So here's what we're looking for in our conversational mapping. Listen for branches, i.e. Tony, Spider-Man, Sunday. So the nouns, if you like. And introduce new branches. If you can, use open-ended questions. So why, how, and what this does when you're asking questions, but at the same time engaging, because I think one of the bad bits of advice for people who are shy is to only ask questions so that you don't have to speak as much. No, we want to train ourselves. We want to be engaged with the process. But the asking questions takes the conversational deeper. It's not designed so that we don't have to speak, because we're going to be using conversational mapping. Now, what can be useful to this? This is kind of like general knowledge about maybe pop culture or about your profession, your business, so that when you're off on a branch, you can ask intelligent questions. But at the same time, be authentic. This is what it's all about. You have the right to be yourself, to express yourself, your skills, your talents. You didn't need me to tell you that, but you do. So, practice this. Like I said, the way that you can practice this, you're listening for branches. Practice that on its own first. So listen to the radio 4. Radio 2 is okay for that when they're doing interviews. But Radio 4 is pretty good. Yes, I've reached that age where I listen to Radio 4. Have you noticed that when you're young you listen to Radio 1? And then at some point, and it's not quite sure when, you transition to Radio 2 because you prefer the music. A lot of people skip Radio 3 and then you find yourself listening to Radio 4. It's a sign you're getting older. I digress. But interviews are great for that because you just need to listen to sentences and hear just how many branches you can then hook on new sentences to. Then have a practice of introducing new branches. So that is our second technique. So your action step. Will you commit to using conversational mapping over the next week? Give it a go. Listen to the radio first. Listen to people's conversations and practice it inside your head, and then give it a go in a real conversation. I think you'll be surprised at the results. So we've covered a huge amount in a short period of time. So we've looked at the internal world and expression. We've looked at just a small part of each of those two out of a much larger process. And what I'd really like you to do, like I said, is to commit to taking action and using it. But the reality is, even if you just take a tiny fraction of what we covered today, hopefully you felt like you take a gigantic leap forward, a genuine step forward to becoming more confident. So I don't know what you already knew about shyness, and hopefully if you knew a lot from an emotional point of view, but if you've done any research, avoid some of the traps that are out there. Some of it's new, but hopefully what I've shared with you is valuable. Such stuff as the quotes, my story, avoiding the power pose, at least for now until you maybe built that confidence up, and then it will make a difference. So current solutions on offer, and some of the downsides of those and the upsides of each of those. The 4-step process for overcoming shyness. The triune brain theory, which to me is the key to us moving forward. The vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is your friend. Get to know the vagus nerve, smile more and breathe deeply, and conversational mapping. We've managed to cover that in the last 50 minutes. Powerful stuff in a short period of time. This is part of the shyness cure, a safe, step-by-step method for reclaiming your life. It happens all over the place. Al Pacino said, "My first language was shy." It's only by having been thrust into the limelight that I have learned to cope with my shyness and move beyond that. I think we can safely say about Al Pacino. And if you do nothing, sadly, you're going to stay where you are. If you take the wrong advice, you're going to stay where you are. Do something. I don't know if you know this, but scientists have found a gene for shyness. They would have found it years ago, but it's been hiding behind a couple of other genes. So I couldn't resist that quote. I came across it and it made me smile. It's designed to get results. An 8-week training, which will cover in depth the internal world, taking what we covered today and expanding and adding to it greatly. The external world, expression and engagement. Along with this, I've developed a process that works with the conscious mind and the deep unconscious mind, which is a set of audio tracks that you listen to one each week, 7 nights a week, and then you change the track. You do that for 8 weeks. We're setting up a private Facebook group to start to share our experience, and I'm dedicated to one-to-one coaching sessions. Now, here's my thinking. My goal is to help 1 million people break free from shyness. I feel very strongly about making a difference, especially in this area. My initial thought was to give this away free. And as much as I'd love to do that, my experience, and I have a lot of experience with this, for a good 10 years, I gave away a 2-day free NLP training, which was certified. You got a diploma, you had to do written work for it. There was no strings attached. You didn't have to pay the stupid £100 deposit and stuff like that. It was completely free. Turn up. And what I discovered was that course had to be twice as good as a paid for course for people to take it seriously. And then only a small percentage acted on it. And yet, since I've been charging for that course, people take action. It is they listen, they engage in a way that they don't before when it was free, sadly. And then they take and do stuff with it. So there seems to be something that if we can get you emotionally engaged, we can get you committed to taking action, and you're financially committed, it adds a layer of confidence that's not there before. So to really do this, we need to be able to set it at a price that's not ridiculous, but is also an investment. So I'm thinking along the lines of, say, maybe £599 to £795 for this course once this training is fully completed. And here's what I mean by that. This is the first time I'm sharing this, and we've got a course coming up starting next week for the next 8 weeks. It's going to be a webinar-based course, and what I'm looking for are 10 people to engage with it, to commit to taking action, and to give me feedback. And I'm willing to reward those people for doing that. So, essentially what I'm asking you to do, I'm looking for just 10 people to attend the training for all 8 weeks. And what that means, you attend the live training or the recording version of that, as long as you do it within that week. You commit to listening to the audio tracks. The audio tracks range from 30 to 45 minutes. You join the Facebook group, and at least once a week for the next 8 weeks, you make a comment there. Even if it's just, hello, I'm introducing myself. And what I'm really after, I want this course to be a world-class course, this world-class training, that we get it up to the standard. You work with me here. Get up to the standard by giving me feedback, genuine, heartfelt feedback. And if you feel it justifies it, testimonials and case studies, so that we can get the message out there. And the case studies are vital. And these are optional. I'm not going to make you do this part. But the case studies is so that you become the role model for the next generation of people who overcome their shyness. Now, if you're willing to do that, and I hope this makes sense, here's what I'm willing to do. To give you lifetime access and all the updates, all the refinements, all the improvements, and give you lifetime support in using all the techniques. So what I'm going to ask you to do is this. If you pay £199 for the training, for the 8 weeks, so you commit to that. You just do what I ask you to do, is commit to yourself and engage with the process. At the end of the 8 weeks, after you give me the feedback, optional if you give me a case study, optional if you give me a testimonial, but you've engaged on Facebook at least once a week. You've listened to the audios, and that's what I need the feedback for that. This is going to be designed to be a world-class tool that helps as many people as possible. Out of that £199, I will give you £100 back because you kept your word, you kept your commitment to yourself, and I will honour that. So hence that makes the cost being £99, which is, in the great scheme of things, not a lot, but it gets you emotionally invested in the process. So, attend the training for 8 weeks. Whoops, hang on, what have I done here? Well, let me show you something. This is just me. Look what I've done. What I've managed to do there is play with a bit of technology. I'm just sorry about it. But if you commit to the 8 weeks, commit to listen to the audio tracks, engage on the Facebook group, which are all the things that make good training work, and you give me feedback on it, and you'll get the one-to-one coaching. That's the deal. So let me come back and find. There we go. That's what I'm after. So I'll return the £100 to you. Now this is starting next Thursday evening, and all the replays will be private. They'll be in a members area. So this offer is open to you until the 11th of September. So put a time on that. It's going to be 4:30 on the 11th of September. This offer closes to you. If you would like to be one of the 10 to apply for the place, as you can see, I'm not out to make huge amounts of money here. I'm out to make a fabulous, a training that really makes a difference course. I'd like you to email me and tell me that why you want to be on the course and your commitment to the 4 things I'm asking you to do. Email me to those john@nlpcourses.com, and I will confirm back to you whether you get a place, or unfortunately all the places are full and maybe you'll have to wait until the 8 weeks are completed. But I hope that sounds fair. It was the fairest way I can think about doing this, so that A, you get a chance to get in at the ground level, to really be a role model for people who are coming after you, so that people can look at your story and go, wow, I wish that was me. And there'll be a route towards them. You'll be one of the founders of this course. so that you can really have an impact in the world. And at the same time, already have a set of tools that work and be part of the team that takes it to the next level. So thank you for listening. We've managed to cover a lot of information in a short period of time. So this offer ends on 11th of September at 4:30. So please do email me at john@nlpcourses.com. That's john@nlpcourses.com. Thank you ever so much for your time and your commitment. And what's more important than anything else is that you take action today. Take action. Commit to doing the breathing. Commit to doing the conversational mapping. It only takes moments in your day. Email me. Let me know the results. Keep in touch. Have a fabulous week. And I look forward to seeing you next Thursday in the Shyness Cure webinar, in the training that starts and will be 8 weeks. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening and keep in touch.